I haven't been honest with you, but not because I didn't want to be. I think I felt unable to. Let me explain. I haven't been as authentic as I'd like to be online. And the reason, I honestly didn't even realize it, okay? That's how like deep in this I was. I don't know if you felt this way about my content, but for the past maybe year, I just haven't had the bandwidth or the ability to be authentic. I would script my videos. For those of you who don't know, I script some of them in general because it's like research based. I want to make sure I get all the details just right. Or I want to make sure I'm describing this new thing I learned exactly as it's, been shown to show up. For an example, like diagnostic stuff or things like that, I'll script them. But usually most of them are like this, where I'm just talking to you and I'm sharing an experience. And I found myself hiding in those scripts, like scripting everything, because I was overwhelmed. Everything from writing my new book, why do I keep doing this? It comes out December 9th. That took a lot of energy and effort. And then also I've been having a hard time like living in a place I don't want to be, where I don't have community. And I think in general, I was just drained. Like it's like all of the energy that I usually put into creating content and even just thinking about life. Like a weird random factoid kind of behind the scenes of me, I guess, is that a lot of what I do for content creation is just like journaling and listening to other people talk and thinking about like why I'm having such a hard time or why I've gotten a bunch of questions in this kind of way, right? And that's how I come up with topics, and that's how I talk to you about like what I think the real process is. And in all honesty, I've been so drained that I just couldn't do that. I couldn't do that for you. And I'm sorry if you felt that disconnection, because the crazy thing is, from my perspective, I didn't even realize it until probably a month or two ago. You probably saw the shift in my video content where I was sharing that like my life just feels out of control, and I even started, sharing some different quotes that I've seen on the internet that really touched me. And that's kind of like the old authentic Kati versus me hiding behind like something that was written already, the week prior and like edited. Like I would read it through and make sure it made sense and everything was said just right. And I didn't enjoy it as much. And I'm so sorry that was how I was showing up for you, because I really like to hold myself to a higher standard. But I think that when I'm having a hard time, the interesting like toxic trait I've realized about myself is that I prefer to isolate. And I say prefer, not that that's a healthy thing, but that's just my go-to, is like, hey, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so drained. I don't even have anything to give to myself or anybody else. I'm just going to pull back. But I know as a therapist that isolation makes everything 1000% worse. So if you're isolating, I challenge you, pull yourself up, push out of it, lean in instead of pulling back. But I do that all the time. And I have just been so overwhelmed that I was like not even listening to my intuition or realizing I was doing that. Does that make sense? It's almost like I was isolating in like without being conscious of it. Why? So infuriating. And that's why I always say that I'm a therapist. I know better. I don't always do better. So that's me knowing better. I know isolation isn't good for me. And if any patient of mine had said they were doing that, I'd be like, we should reach out to one person this week. That would be my challenge. That would be like homework I would give in a video. But here I am doing it myself. And I realized all of this because I went to one of my favorite conferences, the Healthy Voices conference this last weekend. And I got to reconnect with other health advocates. And there was a particular workshop that a friend of mine did where she was just talking about like figuring out who we are with and without our advocacy. And it sounds so simple in like title, but it really got me thinking about like, how am I showing up for you? How am I showing up for myself? And it was like a moment in the workshop when she was posing these questions to us that like, do we ever do our advocacy work when we don't feel we have anything to give? And like, do we feel like we have to? Do we feel that pressure? Anyway, in those answering those questions, I was like, oh my God, yes, I'm like pouring from an empty cup. I'm completely isolating. I'm not telling people how I'm feeling or what I'm going through. And that doesn't help anybody, right? It feels disconnected. And I know where it comes from. It's because I believe that like I can sometimes be seen as like a leader, or I like to think that I'm like helpful, right? And I'm offering support. And so I'm like leading us in this mental health education path. But if I like am lost myself, how can I lead, right? It's like, I wouldn't want to have somebody who didn't know where they were try to lead me out of a forest, for example. And so I didn't want to like lead you astray. And so instead I was hiding behind like research and here are 5 signs of this. And I'm scripting this out so that I make sure I say it just the way that it should be said. I don't really think that's that helpful. And it really got me thinking about like what I want to do going forward and like what social media and YouTube is to me. And the truth is, I think that now more than ever, like being real, being authentic about our process is so vitally important because we need that connection. I know people don't like to reference it as often anymore, but I think COVID like messed us up when it comes to isolation and not feeling like we're in real life with people. And I really crave that. And I want that. Like a friend of mine at the conference said to me, what I wouldn't give to have 2019 back. And I was like, God, yeah, that was a great year. And I don't like to live in the past and think like, oh, I need that year back. That's not the point. The point is, what did 2019 represent to me? And pick any year in your life and you're like, man, I wish I could go back to X, Y, Z. Why? What was happening then that made it feel so great, right? And for me, it was community. 2019 was around the time when I was like going and giving talks within YouTube and Unilever and different companies. And I was talking to people and I had gotten to go to VidCons and Playlist Lives. And I think it was a couple years before that, but I went to Australia and I went to Amsterdam. I got to meet so many of you. And I really need that. I really miss that. And so this is me trying to come back to that, to bring back the things that I really loved. I also never scripted videos then. It was all just me riffing. There is a funny random factoid. There's a funny video somewhere in the ether. I think it was for YouTube, for like internal videos. Because I didn't script. I just tried to riff on it and I messed up so much and I'm like cussing. I'm like, fuck, I messed up. Had to keep redoing it. And they're like, just send us the raw footage. And Sean's like, do you want me to cut that out? And I was like, just ship it, send it over to them. So somebody saw me just like unraveling, trying to read that script or read the things that they wanted me to say without scripting. Anyways, I am just trying to be more honest. I want to show up more authentically. And it kind of reminds me of this thing that my therapist had said to me a few years ago, where she was like, withdrawing isn't really helpful. If you do that in your relationships, you leave the other person guessing. You need to try to communicate, because I tend to be more, and this is bad to say, but more passive aggressive. I withdraw hoping they can read my mind, hoping that the silence will speak volumes and they'll come to look for me. Like Sean will be like, what's wrong? What happened? But half the time that, he doesn't even know anything happened. He doesn't even know I'm upset and I haven't communicated it, and no one can read our minds, right? And so my therapist's challenge to me was, hey, instead of you like isolating, instead of you withdrawing and pretending that they're going to come hunting after you, how about you lean in? How about you tell them, hey, this hurt my feelings, or hey, I've been having a hard time. I need some more support. And so this is me leaning in. This is me trying to tell you like, hey, it's been tough. I feel like I'm in a place where I don't really belong. I've been working really hard and I love my job. I love my job, but it doesn't mean that it's not also sometimes exhausting. And I haven't been taking care of myself in the way that I would encourage you to. I haven't been practicing what I preached. And so because of all of that, I had been pulling away, but instead I decided I'm going to lean in. And so I want to be more authentic. I want to share with you more of my process. You let me know in the comments if this is something that you're interested in. I have a ton of other good ideas and things that I've been pondering and things I've been working on in my own life, journaling and all of that, I love to journal. Because I just don't think it helps anybody when we pull back. And I guess this is my one challenge for you, is that if you find yourself in the same camp as me, where you like isolate almost in like a knee-jerk reaction kind of way when things are tough, I want to encourage you to do something this week that's a lean in, because I'm doing it right now. It's a little uncomfortable. I'm sure you can tell I'm a little dysregulated, not terribly. I've got it. I'm glad I'm doing this. I want to be more honest and transparent with you about what's happening inside me, and then just even like as the work that I've created, and maybe you have felt it. I want to validate that. So maybe there's something you can do this week where you lean in and you speak honestly about where you've been and how you're feeling. Because I'm going to be honest, it has been a rough year, a rough 2 years, but I want to feel better. I want to get our community back. I want to feel more connected. And this is my attempt at that. So take care of yourselves. Let me know if you feel comfortable what your lean in is going to be, because this is actually kind of my second thing. I reached out to a couple of my friends to set up time to talk with them, and now I'm leaning into you. So I'm not going to isolate. I'm going to force myself to connect, because connection is incredibly soothing. And last little nerdy tidbit is that we know connection is soothing to our nervous system because of the polyvagal theory. So Dr. Stephen Porges did a bunch of research about the fact that we used to think our nervous system could either be queued up, like to take action, or in the kind of rest and digest state, like when we're just relaxed or asleep. But they realized that it could be energized and relaxed simultaneously through authentic connection. And so this is me trying to get our authentic connection back so that we can all feel a little bit more soothed. Okay, I love you. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next week.